So much. I'm feeling so good about the show. It's never enough time. I said that to Sadie earlier that it never is enough time. Overtime and son is like, oh, here's she she's never gonna finish on time. But just some other highlights for the week. Um, still with the case, there were two moments that stood out that were kind acts and sort of highlights for me. The St. Louis Rams football players that came up with their last Sunday for the show for their pregame, and also the congressmen and women also did the hands up, don't shoot on Congress floor. And to me, that spoke to how it's affecting all levels of wherever we're at. And there was a lot of attack on them. Because they thought there was no space for Congress or no space for sports. But these are still Black people who, even though they've gotten there, have still had experiences of what it is to be Black. And then I was one of the local leaders at the Mass Women's Conference Thursday with 10,000 other women that came together. And it was an amazing thing to be a part of. Shout out to Moody's and Julia Mejia, who were the two Latina sisters, the three shades of Latinas as we're calling ourselves, that were also local leaders that presented. But we could actually count the women of color amongst the 10,000 women. And it was interesting that when we saw each other, any woman of color, like we were all taking pictures with each other. Like it's like, oh hey sister, like hola, ¿cómo estás? Like we really stood out. But what was the kind act and the thing that stood out in that space was to know that the Eric Garner decision was heaven's mind, so there was no going around talking about it. But Hillary Clinton was one of the speakers. And Lupita Nyong'o was one of the speakers, and she talked about dreaming and what it means like to be a Black woman in Hollywood. And it was, she's still aided by people think about what she should be like. And Hillary Clinton came out the gate and acknowledged that this country is in danger. And her words were like, isn't he your brother? Isn't he your neighbor? And that the justice system is off balance. And to me, it is off balance. And she said it needed to be on balance again. So those are three of the things that stood out in my week. Also, I participated in this conference of my sister. People were like, "Oh, your hair," my hairdresser Tracy Hall. My woman that designs my friend Gigi, my business cards, and then I have a very dear friend, and he would be like so in shy and embarrassed if I put out his name, but he was very dear to me and was there throughout the day, sent messages and sent me no gracias. The gesture of supporting the No Justice movement for Michael Brown. I want to mention this past Thursday at the protest, and we were out there, and it was a cold night, and this Black officer, he offered to give my mate his gloves because it was cold. But he would, by his counterpart, guess he was his, his superior. Boss. Yeah, his superior who told him, no, don't do that. And so I think it shows for me that, first of all, that not all police are that, and that especially the ones of color, because we seem to think, okay, well, they're on their side and they're police of color, but they're suppressed just as we are in a system that's oppressing. And so I just want to recognize him for that because he felt what we were feeling and he offered that gesture. So that was nice of him, although he was oppressed by the system. I want to recognize Professor Vandermeer for being
supportive professor during these times of the protest.
He's been through his time. He's still here to witness many more to come. And, just allowing me to turn in my paper a little bit late because I was, a little taken back my energy anyway. And so I just want to recognize his kind gesture for the,
And we have to recognize his kind gesture for bringing us together, even though
that too.
he had something to do with the talking, as you said, our spaces together. Because, who are the same. The numbers look big, but they're really small. So I want to thank you and know that you have my support to on this, because I think we got to figure this out, and we can't do it alone. So for those who joined us, Hassan, how many people did we have on today? Do we have people on today?
We have about 800.
Oh, see, we had like a good number of folks checking us out. So for those who listened and tuned in, thank you. Thank you for joining us in this special edition. Thank you, Sadie, for coming into studio. Thank you, Paola. Gracias, Paola, por estar en el show hoy. And thank you all for keeping me soulful and hopeful, and keeping me grounded in dreaming that something better has to happen and something better has to come for us, before us, because this is just not the way we should be treated and seen as Black people or as human beings. So hopefully we will be able to continue to tap our soulful happenings and be well. So thank you all, and then next week for another fabulous edition of Soulful Afro with Yvette. And thanks, Hassan, for creating this space and for keep it going. And we're gonna keep listening to Kafu, so we shall see you next week. Hassan, you taking us out?
All right, thanks again for listening and watching us. We'll be live and direct again next week, Sunday, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. The show will be uploaded on YouTube and also shared on Facebook. Have a great evening. Thanks again to our guests. We appreciate you, and hope to see you again.
Living in the ghetto.
También hay gente con educación que han logrado una posición. He's saying that even what you define as the ghetto still creates educated people.
Right.
We're still educated. You know?
I wouldn't want to grow up anywhere else.
The struggle embodies like character. Who we really become. I'm so proud of him. We were both in a poetry book together as two youngest poets in the book. And my uncle is one of his managers. You want to come and sit and give your reflective thoughts? I'll let you go first. Huh?
No, something about
Particularly you want to focus on?